Yeah,
one of
not-
the kids. His kids are probably.
Gentlemen, we're having a little issue with the
Call this meeting in order. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Mr. Good evening, everyone. We have a very short agenda tonight. Is there, roll?
Greenberg is absent. Hicks. Here. Mako.
Here.
Chappaqua.
Here.
Siriano is absent. Tamarkin.
Here.
Wester.
Here.
Do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda?
No, sir.
So we want approval of the last meeting minutes of September 13th. Do I have a motion?
So moved by Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Wester. Is there any discussion? We have a motion by Mr. Hicks and a second by Mr. Wester. Is there any discussion? Clarifications, comments? No? Hearing none. Roll call?
Hicks.
Yes.
Wester.
Yes.
Mako.
Yes.
Chappaqua.
Yes.
Tamarkin.
Abstain.
Thank you.
Very good. Motion passes. We enter the portion where our city attorney swears in the applicants or anybody who's going to speak tonight. We'll turn it over to Mr. Roth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are now at the public hearing portion of the meeting. The public hearing will operate as follows. Administrative staff will make a presentation or comment on the application. The applicant or their representative may then make a presentation or comment on the application. Public comment will then be open for 3 minutes allowed per speaker. Additional time may be requested. Permission is at the discretion of the chair. Speakers must complete a speaker slip and come to the podium and state their name. The applicant will then be given 10 minutes to comment. Additional time may be requested. Permission is at the discretion of the chair. If there is more than one application pending for a particular address, the presentation on each application may be consolidated and presented as one. At this time, will persons wishing to present testimony this evening please rise and raise your right hand to be sworn in? Okay, that's it. Just raise your right hand. Stand up and raise your. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, state I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roth. We now enter the application portion of our meeting. I will read the application in its entirety. The variance application number V-0020-2023 to consider a variance application to vary sections 1150.04F1 and 1150.04F2 yard requirements of the codified ordinances of the city of Gahanna for property located at 132 Shaw Avenue, parcel ID 025-000183, current zoning OG1, for a garage addition. Edward Pettit, applicant. And then parcel ID number, is that correct? Parcel ID 025-003475, current zoning SF-3? Is that a rogue line?
I think so. It's not on my agenda.
Yeah, garage addition, Edward Pettit, applicant.
Period.
Period. Yes. Now turn it over to the administration for their presentation. Mr. Blackford?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the screen right now, we have the location and zoning map. Top of your screen here, this is Carpenter Road. And right through the middle of your screen, this is Shoal Avenue. Here's the home in question. Just to the south would be Granville, and here's Walnut Street. All the properties in this darker green, these are Old Gahanna, residential, single family, OG1. OG1 has, this is pretty much the main part of the city that has this zoning. There's not a lot of properties. We don't see it too often here with Planning Commission. Tonight's request, a couple of building additions are proposed. OG1 does require a 25-foot front yard and a 25-foot rear yard. This is a corner lot, so we are dealing with only front and rear yards. And this lot has a 50-foot width, and my math skills aren't the best, but 25 and 25 for a setback, and a 50-foot wide lot does tend to lead to variance requests. And doing a little bit of research before the hearing tonight, in case we're curious, this area was platted in 1927, which predated our zoning code by about 30 years. And I believe the home on this property was built, I think, in 1945. But certainly up and down that street, there's quite a few homes that are actually older. So if we're looking at an aerial more in depth, you're going to see a lot of structures, and especially like accessory structures that are on or near property lines. So I just point that out, that is certainly not uncommon in this part of the city. A lot of it has to do, again, with when you're dealing with 50-foot wide lots. You're going to have a lot of variances from zoning code standards. What they're requesting, again, there's two additions. We'll look at that here momentarily. The addition on the west side of the property, so I guess that'd be towards Shoal, has a 7-foot setback from the north property line. That is a rear yard, and then the east addition is 9 feet from the north property line. Here's the site plan. I believe here in the areas in red represent where those building additions are proposed. And again, 9-foot setback on the north side, 7-foot setback. You can see that the established building line is already 7 and 9 feet. They're adding additional building. But if you do choose to grant the variance, it would be in character with the lot, in keeping with that north property line. Here's some photos of the property. Drawing here of the two additions. And again, it is, I believe, a 1945 home, so building additions not totally uncommon in this area. Variance criteria, when we're dealing with variances of this nature, i.e. e.g. non-fences and signs, is there a special circumstance or condition applying to the land or the use? Staff would certainly say that there is a bit of a unique condition because of the age of the plat. Again, with rather small dimensions there, that does necessitate variances. Would the variance granting of it be detrimental to the welfare of the community? Certainly staff would say no. Again, there's an existing housing pattern, development pattern with similar setbacks in this area. Again, staff does recommend approval. It's a corner lot. We do see corner lots here more frequently than other types of lots because there are more larger setback requirements. And again, that's very tough when we're dealing with small lots in our more walkable areas. Again, this has been reviewed by our engineering folks. It doesn't appear to create any type of obstruct any drainage, change any drainage, create any site triangle issues. And because of the development conditions, the modest size of the property and that of the additions, staff would recommend approval. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back over to your capable hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blackburn. We now open the public portion. Is there anybody from the public? Did anybody responded through email? Would the applicant like to make a few comments? Yes, please address the microphone and state your name and address.
My name is Edouard Petit, obviously live at that house on 132 Shaw Avenue. The reason for doing the addition is to make the house more one. If you look to the left side, which is the west side, it's like Florida room or all-season room, but it doesn't fit the house. The windows don't match. It's not insulated. The roof doesn't match the rest of the house, so it's to make it more streamlined and incorporated to make the house more balanced, I guess. It will be aligned with the front, on the front with the same windows, and the Florida room or the all-season room is kind of a temporary structure in its way, and it's degrading at this time. So the best option for me is to redo it correctly and incorporate it to the house so it blends with our house. And then on the east side, it's the same thing. I will want to have the peak of the house meeting the peak of the garage, and I will be taking care of the trailer that you can see on the right side. I had another drawing. I don't know if you have it where you, well, see the peak of the garage will meet the peak of the house and will not be like 2 steps down. So aesthetically it will be more pleasing because all the windows will be now newer windows. The only windows are not matching, or the single pane windows that from 1942, when the house was built, are the one on that all-season room. And I want to get the insulation to be better and for my neighbor than the one on the north side, closer to me. All the siding will be matching, and it will not be like shocking on ISO as it is to me right now. You have any questions?
Yep. We now close the public portion and open up for questions from the commission. Mr. Hitt?
No questions.
Mr. West? Mr. Mako?
A couple questions. Excuse me. What's the total square footage that you're thinking about adding on? Approximately.
I have those numbers and I submitted them. On the living space, it's not that much, because if we go back to the Florida room, I'm only adding 2 feet to the left, and I think 2 feet to the front, so I may add, maybe adding 40 feet of living space on the west side, and then the garage is a 1-car garage. So it's 20 by, it's going to be 200 square feet for the garage, I think. Yeah, 20 by 10, yeah.
Okay. And second question, any negative input from your neighbors about
No,
this?
I just spoke to them, and they're like very happy that I'm actually finally getting done to do that. Because they knew when I bought a house, I was planning on doing that like 20 plus years ago, and I'm finally getting to do it, so they're pretty happy with it.
No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mako.
No questions.
I have a couple. So the addition you're going to do, you're going to take down the sunroom.
Yes.
Is the siding that's on the right-hand side of the main entrance, you're just going to match that siding?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that'll go on all three sides? And also,
Minus where you see my front door, that's
Yeah.
actually stone. So in that part is actually not aligned with the right side of the house. It's like, sorry, it's actually 2 feet forward. So the addition that I'm adding is going to be 2 feet back to match the rest of the house, keeping the front, the stones 2 feet forward. Does it make any sense? Or on the plan view, you can see it better, I guess.
yeah, can you go back to the plan, the site plan? It shows the red.
Yeah.
So that you have the offset there up
So
front. So
that line where the main house is will be keep on going straight right there. And then that's the part I'm adding.
And that's all the stone. So the garage on the east side,
Yes.
that is, well, there's the doorway, but the east wall is just the siding. What, do we know what the siding is? It looked like it had a pretty
It's a
wide.
vinyl Dutch siding.
It's a vinyl?
Yeah.
It looked like the exposure was pretty deep. I don't know I don't know if you could get your hands on it anymore. Seems
Oh, I
like
can.
pretty old. You
I've-
can?
I've replaced some of it not long
Okay.
ago, so.
And you're not occupying the second floor of the addition over the sunroom?
Right now, there's no second floor in the sunroom. There's no
Okay.
mean to.
There's nothing there now, but when you build your higher peak,
It
are
will
you
be.
going to try
Yeah,
to access
They will have, I
access
will have
that?
access. The idea is to, there's a chimney currently in the living room, and to open it so you can go around the
You
chimney.
can go around the chimney to get into that space? Can you go back to his architectural rendering? So there is no window, you're not putting a dormer, you don't have anything in the gable end here on the left for that space that's up there?
No, because I'm planning on doing a walk-in closet upstairs. The problem with the bedroom upstairs, it's a big bedroom, but it's under the roof, and you cannot put any cabinets for clothes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot out of it.
It sounds like you need a little bit extra space. Any other comments from the commission? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I make a motion for approval of V-0020-2023.
Thank you, Mr. Barkin. Is there a second?
Second, Wester.
Mr. Wester, we have a motion by Mr. DeMarco, seconded by Mr. Wester. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call.
Tamarkin,
Yes.
Wester,
Yes.
Mako,
Yes.
Chapaca,
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
That ends our application. We're going to move forward to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business?
No, sir.
How about any new business?
No, sir.
All right, not hearing any official reports. Mr. Roth, anything from the city attorney?
Nothing to report at this time.
All right, we're going to open up the floor to the Director of Planning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A few things to share with you tonight. One, as I think most of you are aware, we do have a Planning Commission has an appeal tomorrow night for the Board of Zoning and Building Appeals for the Speedway Towing Facility over on Taylor Station Road. Yep, that's tomorrow at 6:30. We did have our public engagement for the zoning code this past weekend at the Mill Street Market. That was extremely well attended. I think we had probably 200 to 300 people stop by, pretty much from 8:50 to 3:30. I think we had about 10 minutes without somebody there. We literally never had a chance to sit down. We probably had 2 or 3 groups at most time. Feedback was a really well-attended event. People were really appreciative of, going to that kind of event rather than a typical, Tuesday at 7 o'clock. And then a lot of folks were just really kind of pleased that, we're making an effort. We had some boards up that had some different development types. We kind of explained what the zoning code was, and that materials, those have been, that's now on our city website, and I would encourage you all, go check out our new city website, and then on here, you'll see zoning code input, and you can take our online survey there. It takes about 10 minutes or so to go through that. And I know at least one planning commission member who's not here tonight who took that survey. And as of 30 minutes ago, we had 150 respondents already to that. So very successful outreach from these two initiatives. That survey will be up until October 8th. We're working on scheduling a workshop, like a more in-depth workshop with Planning Commission and City Council. I don't think we're ready to announce a date yet, but it looks like it will be in October, and I imagine you'll be getting some reach outs here shortly from the city requesting some availability. On that particular evening, we don't have the topics pointed out quite yet, but It will be with our zoning rewrite consultant, and that they'll be coming in, doing a deeper dive on a couple of topics there. We haven't finalized that yet. And one other thing I would point out is I did get a reach out. Some of you all might remember this project, not too far from the project we were just talking about. Multifamily development here. Some of you may recall, it was about 3 years ago now, there was a design review request to paint those buildings. They've been painted, but at that during that meeting, it was discussed that there would be some additional landscaping installed. The applicant has reached out to me just to let me know that they did install some building foundation plantings. Technically, that's not required by our code, but that was kind of talked about at that hearing. And there are some, I did go out there, sorry I don't have a picture handy, but there are some plantings now in those landscape beds out in front of those buildings. Might take a few years for it to really kind of mature and all that, but there are plantings out there. And with that, I will conclude those comments. Thank you.
Mayor's not in the house. I have no comments as chair. Is there any other correspondence and actions?
No, sir.
Poll members, anybody want final word? Hearing none, motion to adjourn?
I arbitrarily and capriciously make a movement to adjourn.